This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Yes, it's Forecast Friday on the Global Sports Podcast Network, English Premier League show. I'm Marcus Ramtohul and I'll be taking you through the action with a look ahead to game week 35. Now, you may have been forgiven for thinking that it's all over with Liverpool being declared champions last Sunday and all three newly promoted teams being relegated already. But I assure you, there is still lots to play for and some cracking fixtures coming up this May. Last week, I argued to the hills with Jupp Tage that actually I think it's been a really exciting Premier League season. And I pointed to the opportunities for many English clubs to still qualify for Europe. Now, are you listening closely? Because this is quite complicated. So I'm just going to have to quote this verbatim from the official Premier League website. There is a chance that European competitions will feature 10 English clubs next season. And here is one scenario where this could happen. Liverpool, Arsenal, Nottingham Forest, Newcastle and Manchester City finish in the top 5 and qualify for the Champions League. Aston Villa or Brighton finish 6th and qualify for the Europa League. Bournemouth finish 7th and take the Conference League place passed down by the EFL Cup winners Newcastle, having beaten Liverpool at Wembley recently. Chelsea finish 8th and qualify for the Europa League by winning this season's Conference League. Palace qualify for the Europa League by winning the FA Cup because they're FA Cup finalists. And Manchester United or Spurs qualify for the Champions League by winning this season's Europa League. Such an improbable outcome would see 6 English clubs playing in next year's Champions League, 3 in the Europa League and 1 in the Conference League. And I love this unnecessary addition here from the Premier League website. The domestic plight of Man United and Spurs, who sit 14th and 16th respectively, means that winning the Europa League is now their only means of retaining European football next year. For me, still a very exciting Premier League season with a lot of the business still to be decided among those European places. Let's have a look at the fixtures going into this game week. We'll start with today's fixture. Manchester City will host Wolves at the Etihad at the 8 p.m. kickoff. Cunha, Ait-Nouri, Strand Larsen looked fantastic in their 3-0 win against Leicester. But interestingly, City are doing a really good job of this, going under the radar in what's not been a vintage season for them. But Erling Haaland is still the 3rd highest scorer in the league. They are FA Cup finalists, and you've got to fancy them against Crystal Palace as much as I'd love Palace to win that fixture. And their home form is just behind league winners Liverpool and challengers Arsenal. So, bad season for City, but actually still looking quite promising as well. The 12:30 kickoff on Saturday is the next fixture as Fulham travel to Villa. 7th plays 8. Again, exciting fixture. 7th plays 8. Fulham have actually shown a lot of great resilience this season. I personally, if you look back over the episodes beginning of this season, I didn't fancy them to do as well as they have done. They are one of only 2 teams to have beaten the champions this season as well, so credit to them. They struggled but came back against Southampton in their latest fixture. Villa have looked a bit tired of recent, really. And they suffered that narrow 2-1 defeat in their last outing against City. As I said, Villa desperately trying to make sure they also get European football this year again. We saw them reach the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League. Villa Park needs European football, so I hope they can do it whichever way that comes for them. 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday. We've got Everton versus Ipswich in the penultimate home game at Goodison Park. The story of Everton, just amazing what David Moyes has done there. The Toffees have got the 6th best defensive record in the league, and since he's taken over, They have doubled their amount of goals. They are growing as a club. They're going to a new stadium. Hammers fans, don't know how you feel about this with the sacking of Moyes and what he's now done at Everton. You have to say that Ipswich are now, I think they've got the third worst away record in the league. This is probably a game you can expect Everton to win. Beto is looking sharp again. So probably another bad away day for Ipswich. They know their fate already. So they might be trying to preserve their team or try something new tactically, which can only go in Everton's favour. And after that, one more home Premier League game at Goodison Park. Before we take a look at the other fixtures this weekend, let us hear about Bioniq.
Your body is unique. And Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Moving forward to the 3 o'clock kickoffs on Saturday, and this really should have been a fixture with a lot more riding on it. Leicester will host Southampton, and both sets of fans can feel very frustrated with their season. Just not enough bite in anything that's been going on there. I think Ipswich fans have gone down with their heads held high. They've played a style of football that's been attractive, and they've stuck with a squad that got them there. And Kieran McKenna's very much a well-loved manager. For Leicester and Southampton fans, you can point to a lot of things that have gone wrong this season, and also their team's just not performing. Saints had a frustrating result at Fulham over the weekend, and Leicester just capitulated against Wolves. So this is a chance, I think, for Leicester at home to take some points off of Southampton. It really is about pride in this game now, but the record for the season so far actually has shown that both clubs really haven't reached their potential. So a disappointing one, that this could have been a really exciting fixture to decide what was happening at the bottom of the table. But as I said earlier, all three newly promoted clubs have now sealed their fate and they will be relegated. So let's see who turns up this weekend in the Leicester-Southampton fixture. Saturday ends with Arsenal taking on Bournemouth at the Emirates. I suspect Arsenal will have one eye on that difficult away Champions League fixture with PSG. And Arsenal then will have to face Liverpool at Anfield after that, Newcastle at home. Bournemouth can feel hard done by from last weekend's antics. The last-minute equaliser from YOUela, only his second United goal, I think, in the Premier League, secured a point for United at Vitality following Evan Nielsen's sending off. I'm not sure what he could have done about that, but it did turn the tide in Manchester United's favour. They needed to play against the 10-man Bournemouth to win that point. But Bournemouth will feel they're having a good season. Sitting 10th, 50 points. Arsenal maybe one eye on this fixture in Europe coming up, so they might fancy themselves at the Emirates, but Arsenal want to build some momentum going into that fixture as well. I mentioned United nicking a point there at Bournemouth. You can't help but feel that their season rests on winning the Europa League now, but they'll want to make some progress away to Brentford in their fixture, especially as Amorim insists on playing this 3-4-3 system, despite, I think, not having the personnel to pull it off. They did struggle against Bournemouth. They haven't looked convincing in that system, which I don't think is a reflection on him as a manager. I think there's going to be a lot of business done in the summer there to try and build the team the way that he wants it. Brentford currently sitting 11th, 7 points above Manchester United. Decent season for them. Everyone thought they would struggle with Ivan Toney going away, but the club has stepped up and Bournemouth banged in quite a few goals for them. That'll be an interesting fixture. I wonder how much of United's mentality is going to play a part in this, because I think those players will have an eye on Europe, and for them it's going to be a really bad season if they don't have any silverware at the end of the season, considering where they are in the table. I mentioned earlier that Brighton are still chasing Europe. What a story that would be. Brighton, the club that has bred all these talented players and sold them on for a profit. Vindication potentially for their business model if they can also make it to having European football on the South Coast. But they do face a Newcastle side with Eddie Howe back from his battle with pneumonia. And I think this Newcastle team now, with the manager, the players, Isak's second highest goal scorer in the league. They've got the investment from overseas. Yes, they've got European Conference football, but I think they really want Champions League football. It's part of that progression now for the club. So it's not going to be an easier fixture for them by any means. There are 3 more fixtures to tell you about coming up in game week 35. But first of all, let's hear about Zencastr.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner, with 4K video recording from your phone, AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Yes, check out the link in the description to learn about Zencastr. I mentioned a disappointing season for Leicester and Southampton, but cracking fixtures still to come. My eye is on 2 p.m. on Sunday, where it's the London derby. And it's fair to say, I think, that for Spurs and West Ham, they've not really had the seasons that they wanted, sitting 16th and 17th. Again, one of these fixtures where I think fans are going to want to see their teams show some passion, some desire, some fight, some grit that's been lacking in both sides this season. You could argue that actually Spurs have still got a chance of some silverware in Europe, but at this point, I think that looks unlikely. And if they don't win, then all that progress would have been for naught. I don't think their position in the league warrants fans kind of saying, oh, well, you know what, we had a good run in Europe. It's not good enough for what that stadium is, for what the club wants to achieve. I can see the Levy out, debate raging on past the end of this season, regardless of how Spurs do in Europe. West Ham made that decision to get rid of David Moyes following their European success, saying they wanted to be an even bigger club, move forward. They've moved in completely the opposite direction. And the fans, still stuck with them. I think they really want to see something here. And I think we're in for a real treat in this game. I think the players will fight for some pride here in a London derby, fueled by the fans, that amazing atmosphere at the London Stadium. So let's hope it lives up to those expectations for everyone involved, for West Ham, for Spurs and viewers as well. Of course, the champions are in action. They're away at Stamford Bridge to Chelsea. Chelsea will be looking to secure themselves some European Champions League football after what has been quite the season. Joptage and I were here last week, him as a Chelsea fan, but also someone who reports on a lot of Chelsea games for haters. What a season it could be for them. If they get Europe, you have to say, okay, job done. But they've not looked convincing. You might say, okay, there's a Liverpool side travelling to them that might be having a little bit of a headache. They already know they're champions. They've got nothing else left to play for this season. But Mohamed Salah's already said he's got his eyes on another record with those goals and assists, and he looks hungry. And I think that's been the difference between a lot of teams this season, is who's got the desire, who's got the fight. Chelsea will want the points, but I don't think Liverpool are going to turn up to be whipping boys. So I do worry for Chelsea. I think they've done a decent job considering where they were at the beginning of this season. But yeah, this will be an interesting fixture. I think Chelsea, Liverpool, a 4:30 kickoff. Takes us into Monday. Palace will host Nottingham Forest. As I said, Palace could get Europe by winning the FA Cup. A club whose 3-4-3 system has actually worked really well for them. They've managed to settle into that system really well. Quick nod to Nottingham Forest. I talked about Villa needing, after having European Champions League football at Villa Park this year, European football returning to Nottingham Forest. What a story that would be. Nottingham Forest in the European Champions League. It's within touching distance now. And also, I talked about how Erling Haaland has performed this season, still managed to be in the top 3 goal scorers. Chris Wood is one away from making 20. He's 4th in that top scorers list. There's every chance that he could finish above Erling Haaland in the top goal scorers this season. Again, what a story that would be. That is all the fixtures for game week 35. I hope I've proved my point. The league may be done in terms of who's going down and who are crowned champions, but there's still so much to play for, including a lot of pride between clubs who've maybe not had the seasons that they should have had. I'll be watching, looking forward to kind of hearing what you guys think about those fixtures. We'll be here right the way through to game week 38. Until then, you've been listening to the English Daily Premier League show on the Global Sports Podcast Network.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.